What's up, guys? Nostalgic Row here, and I'm back. I wanted to put my 2 cents worth in this whole debate that's popped up here. Obviously, with Captain America Civil War coming out and doing pretty well at the box office, and then comparing it to Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. I've seen both. I didn't bother doing a review of Dawn of Justice, not so much because of my opinion of it, more because of just by the time that I saw it, it had been a few weeks and it just didn't seem worthwhile. But with Captain America here, I saw it over the weekend, so still fresh in my mind, and I thought I'd just like to kind of compare the two. And I guess first off, one of the big things that I want to talk about is that a lot of people obviously Batman versus Superman got a lot of crap, and a lot of people they didn't like it. They thought it was too dreary, blah 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 blah. And for me personally, I can fully acknowledge it's not the perfect film. Um, but at the same time, I thought there's a lot of good, and I think a lot of people overlooked it and didn't give it credit simply because it tried to do something that wasn't Marvel. And it's a shame that people did that because I think as a whole, there's definitely something there um, that people could get behind. But because they were hoping for something that was more kiddie friendly, like Marvel has been, they just kind of missed out on it. I liked Man of Steel. I thought it was an interesting, new, fresh take on Superman, and again, not a perfect film. And with what they did with Superman and introducing Batman, yes, there's a lot of fat to the film. I mean, if there's one thing I would really complain about it is that you could cut out a good solid 20 minutes, no problem, and you wouldn't be missing any details. You wouldn't hurt the film. But as a whole, I actually really liked it, and I want to see it again. Experience it at home and just pick up on some of those other little details because I enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. Yes, it was a little bit corny at times, as well as there's just certain things about it that it was just kind of like, yeah, okay, you're kind of swinging and missing a little bit here. But as a whole, I thought it delivered. I thought it was a solid film, a great way to continue to expand their universe there. And yeah, I didn't see why so many people hated on it. Now going over to Captain America Civil War, I have more complaints about that film because I guess the biggest problem that I have with Marvel right now is that all their movies feel exactly the same, especially these last few, with Age of Ultron and now Captain America, is that they're more focused on continually setting up the next big thing. And for this case, it's going to be Infinity War there and all the other films. And these movies, they just don't feel complete. Like that, they're always more concerned about leaving other things open and the possibility and teasing things and stuff like that. And to me, that's the biggest problem with Marvel right now. Like if you wanted to compare the two films straight up, I think aesthetically speaking, Civil War is better than Batman, um, hands down, better than Dawn of Justice. I won't disagree with you there in terms of quality filmmaking. I think visually and everything like that, Civil War is better. The fighting's tighter and everything. I think Dawn of Justice does a great job. I think it's pretty solid, but just some of the more basic elements of filmmaking, I think Civil War does a better job of. But in terms of plot and being compelling, that's where I kind of struggle with it. And I think part of this is because, and I'll fully admit, like, for me, back up a little bit in terms of my geekiness credit or whatever you want to call it. Um, I guess I am a Batman fan. I've read several of the comics. I mean, I'm not a diehard. I'm not a diehard comic book guy. But Batman is the one that I've definitely read the most of. So I am a Batman supporter. But at the same time, um, I'm open to ideas. I don't stick by like, well, this is how it's done in the comics. I could care less. I don't care enough about the comics that I need to see it a certain way. I always enjoy a new interpretation of things. Um, so with that being said, with Marvel, I know of a lot of the characters, but I don't really know much of their backgrounds. So a lot of this is just basically my opinion based on their movie world, and I don't care about comic books. That being said, though, I think the thing that's been really cool that Man of Steel and now Dawn of Justice does is that it's keeping it more adult oriented, which I think is key because with like comic books, yes, they can be kid friendly, but I think they are geared more towards adults, and I think that's what Batman is doing a great job of. Christopher Nolan did a great job of balancing between kids as well as adults, and Dawn of Justice is kind of trying to find that balance. But is definitely leaning more towards adults. Obviously, there's going to be a rated R version of it coming out on Blu-ray there that talked about it's going to be even longer, which that's a whole other thing. But that's what I like about where they're going with DC. What they're going with is that they're not going for the kiddie angle. They want to have a more serious take on it, and I appreciate that, and that's why I think it's more interesting to me. Whereas with Marvel, they definitely are more concerned about selling product. Let me plain simple. They're concerned about selling toys. They want to make sure that everyone's fair. They get all these cool cameos in so they can sell toys, and that's fine if that's how they want to do it. But I think it's really hurting their franchise because, and again, the difference between the two, and this is something that people have complained about with Marvel, is that their bad guys don't mean anything. Their bad guys are harmless. I mean, Ultron was, he seemed so cool. Like that's why I went and saw that movie in theaters. I don't think I saw Captain America, the second one, in theaters because of what I liked about it. But I did not go see any other ones outside of then Age of Ultron because simply the bad guy factor. That was pretty sweet, at least in the trailers. And then I get in theaters and he's just any regular bad guy. And that's the problem with Marvel is the bad guys. They're terrible. You could care less about them. They're not a threat. Whereas with DC, they are a threat. They have more impact on what's going on than anything else. And that's where with Civil War, the bad guy in it, like he was nothing. He wasn't the threat. Really, Civil War to me comes off more as Tony Stark being needing control. And that's where it's like a lot of what the Avengers universe is Tony Stark going off the wall and then having to make up for it. Like he created Ultron and stuff like that with Civil War. He's the one that was behind it, and then he got his buddies behind it, and he is the problem. He is the bad guy, in my opinion. Stark is the bad guy in this film. And he's struggling to figure it out on what is he trying to do? Is he trying to police all this stuff? Is he, and that's part of his struggle is like, what is going on with him? But I just don't find him as that compelling of a character, especially if that's who he is truly trying to be, is like a bad guy in all this. And that's the problem with Marvel is that they can tell a compelling story, or not necessarily a compelling story, but they do a really good job of making the films. But really, if you break down what they're trying to tell you in the story, they're just not that good. And so it frustrates me that I understand why people really attacked Dawn of Justice. I understand it, but I also think that they were hoping for something that was bigger than what it was ever going to be. And I think I was part of that. But at the same time, I was satisfied with what I saw. I was hoping for more Batman Superman fighting. I mean that's what you're hoping for. But at the same time, when they released that second trailer, you knew then that okay, no, this wasn't the case. They were going to team up and things were going to get resolved. And that was fine. I mean, it ended up working. And like I said, I was happy with that. And with Civil War, Ultron, all that stuff, things never truly get resolved. It just leads into okay, now we're gonna have to deal with this. Okay, now we're gonna have to deal with that. It's just always concerned about setting up. And there was setup in Dawn of Justice, but the main core story they were trying to tell was resolved. Whereas in Civil War, things didn't really get resolved. All it got resolved was the fact that now Stark knows that the Winter Soldier killed his parents. Spoiler alert. And that's about all it got resolved was that now he knows that. And now also that they have in place with the government there. So now like Captain America and all those guys are on their own and they're fugitives. So that doesn't really solve anything though. It just sets it up for like, okay, now the next few movies that are coming out um, are probably not really going to touch base on this except for Black Panther, because I mean with the end credits there and stuff like that, and somehow Black Panther has to revolve around Winter Soldier and Captain America again. I just don't see how they can get away with that unless if it's going back to more of an origin story, which wouldn't make sense. Um, so yeah, so they're kind of just rotating back here now, and yeah, I guess I'm really kind of confused where Marvel's going to go with this, because they spend so much time trying to set up these movies, and then these one-off shoots they loosely tie into it. So I don't know. So I guess that to me is the Achilles heel of Marvel and Civil War compared to Dawn of Justice. Like I said, I think aesthetically speaking, yes, Civil War hands down is better. I'm not going to argue with that. I think the fight scenes are a lot better. I think when you're looking at movie cliches and stuff like that, they do a better job incorporating whatever. But in terms of where the storytelling is the core of it, and is there a resolution to it? Do we understand where everything is set at right now? Dawn of Justice does it for me for that. I understand where everything's at and what's on what's up stakes for the next film, what's going to happen. Whereas Civil War now it's like, okay, that happened, but I guess they want you wanting to wonder more. But at the same time, I'm like, but why do I care? Why do I care what the next steps are? Um, so yeah, so I don't know. I guess for me personally, um, Marvel, like I guess I said, like Marvel just hasn't really done it for me a whole lot. There's only been a couple movies that I've really liked, and the rest I'm just kind of like, yeah, okay, yeah, okay. Whereas DC, they at least still have my interest. They haven't lost me yet. They certainly, like, I like I said, I enjoyed Man of Steel. It wasn't amazing. I won't say that. It wasn't one of my favorite superheroes all the time. But at the same time, it kept me interested. And same with Dawn of Justice. It at least has me being like, I do want to see Suicide Squad. I've been kind of on the fence with that one. I do want to see how this universe continues to expand. Whereas with Marvel, am I going to watch them? Sure, yeah, I'm going to watch them. But at the same time, I really don't care. I don't care where exactly they're going, um, until I guess Infinity War. Like all the other movies in between there, I really don't care. I am curious how everything's going to kind of tie together with Infinity War and the general story arc I care about. But I feel like with DC, as of right now, and granted it's only 2 movies in, but you can watch each movie and you can have a complete understanding just with that movie what's happening, and that's it. Whereas with Marvel, they're hitting a point now where it's like, well, you have to see this movie, and then you have to see that movie, and then you have to see this movie, and then some things kind of make sense. And I guess it's just one of those things that do you want to get invested that far into it? Because what are we, 7, 8, 9 films in with Marvel? Um, does someone want to be that invested into the franchise, or do they just want to simply pick it up and watch it? Like that's what's great. Like with Star Wars, for example, um, you can watch any of those films, just one of them, and you have a full, complete story right there within that film. And yes, Empire ends on kind of a cliffhanger type deal, but at the same time, like, um, it's not like the cliffhanger that is just like a total setup. Like, there's a complete tight story in there. Marvel doesn't have that. I mean, in the individual films for the most part, because that's where this is essentially Avengers. I mean, if Age of Ultron was Avengers 1.5, then this is Avengers 1.75 for Civil War. So yeah, so that's where a lot of these films I kind of struggle having one complete tight story. They're too busy trying to knit in some other details to be like, well, wait till you check out this one, or wait till you check out that one. Um, so yeah, I guess that's more of my take on the situation. Hopefully that makes some sense. I don't know. I kind of even lose myself on some of it there. But at the end of the day, I guess for my money, I'm definitely gonna go see Batman and versus Superman: Dawn of Justice. I'll probably buy it even, um, and watch it again. Whereas Captain America: Civil War, I have no need to go and see that film again. There was nothing in there that is like, oh, I got to see that again. I mean, I can see people arguing with the battle at the end and stuff like that, but all that stuff was just kind of like fan service. It doesn't tell me a greater story. And that's what so far does it for me with DC. And I really hope that, even though, as money making wise and how they got slammed, DC isn't making huge changes like they talk about that they're doing. I really hope they keep kind of the tone that they're going for, because I think they're onto something. And maybe it's not, maybe it's their series is never going to be something like Marvel. Maybe it is always going to be kind of considered like the B side. But I would rather that they keep intact their storytelling that they're doing, in terms of the complete film, and go with that and make a little less money than just trying to crush Marvel at every step of the way. Because it's just one of those things where it's at some point Marvel is going to start faltering, and DC could capitalize on that. And I think Deadpool threw a big wrench into what that could look like. And with Deadpool, even with that movie, bringing that up, Deadpool to me wasn't that great of a movie. But it did a good job with the character. But as a whole, again, it was one of those things that was like, I mean, even with the on his trailer, they point out of like, if he just would have talked to his girlfriend, half that movie wouldn't have happened. And that's the truth. Like they went with the cliche, you can't talk to the girl, and then all this other stuff happened. So I think Deadpool could really throw in a wrench into DC and what they're trying to do, and obviously with Suicide Squad getting reshoots and blah 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 and trying to make it funnier. We'll see the impact of what Deadpool has done to DC. As far as Marvel's concerned, it's not going to really affect their Marvel universe, or at least the Avengers side of things. I don't think. Maybe with X-Men it does more, but yeah, I think Marvel has down of their balance of making jokes, but action films and stuff. They have that balance, but it's not a balance for me. So anyway, I'll stop rambling. But yeah, I will be one of the few people to defend Dawn of Justice and say that it is a better film than Civil War. So go ahead, hate on me in the comments below. Tell me what things I missed, what I didn't miss, or if you agree with me, whatever. Because there's definitely more things I could talk about with this. I'm just trying to keep this video somewhat short. So anyway, yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you agree? Do you think DC is on a better track as far as storytelling and the completeness of a film, where you can watch them one off, or do you think Marvel just Marvel's doing their thing and it's amazing, and DC can only hope to have something like that? So anyway, I'm Nostalgic Row. Thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe and comment below on what you guys think of the two movies, and I'll talk to you next time.